Hi there, colleagues, across town, across the planet. Here we are again. Who do I mean by we? Well, I mean me, Paul Colby, your host for Paul Colby and the Investigators, and a trio of my best investigating staff. These people are so popular, so famous, and I can't really say so well paid, that they'll do anything to get to the bottom of a story that has a top and a bottom, and very often 2 or 3 sides. But I digress. It's the 24th of June in the year of our Lord, 2021. For those historians out there looking at this document on whatever media you use these days to review the past, I can tell you this is a spectacular time to be alert and alive, not only in Houston, Texas, but around the world where we have people tuning in to find out what's really going on. Because it can be pretty confusing if you just listen to the news on television. My investigators are here to bring you closer to the truth. And it's my job as the host to introduce my investigators. First person you probably know well by now, at least by reputation, is Phil Addendrum. Now, Phil is an expert on the unofficial farm life narratives from America in the 1800s and the discoverer of a natural cure for rental car occupancy skin care problems. Whoa, glad he figured that out. He's also an advisor to the Dog Attacks on Postal Workers Investigating Committee of the Department of Homeland Sobriety. And of course, like all of my investigators, he's an author and he has a book on the top bestseller list these days, and I mean the top bestseller list. That book is called How I Made Millions Investing in Okra and Why You Never Will. Now, Phil, I have read most of this book 2 or 3 times over. I understand that you made a killing in okra, so to speak. What is not clear for me, anyway, in the book is why nobody else is going to make this money.
Well, you know, I had a tip that the Defense Department was looking to green its anti-ballistic missile program.
You're talking about a new weapons system?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it would be based on okra?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And how come other people can't invest in this tremendous opportunity?
Because a defense system based on okra doesn't work.
Oh, well that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, I'm sure we'll hear more about that as we go along. Here is another investigator whose credentials are above board. Well, whatever that's supposed to mean. Lynn Guiney is the founder of the Women's Watchdog Committee on Cleanliness in Armed Forces Combat in the lower 48 states. And she is an authority on the safe uses of nitrogen in childhood. And she's a facilitator at the English-speaking crowdsourced sperm bank library in Flushing Meadows. If I could ask you a question about that, how many safe uses of nitrogen in children are there anyway?
11.
Could you be more specific?
No.
Okay. Anyway, I have been enjoying your latest book, which is Embracing Yard Work When Nasal Surgery is Not Really an Option. And I guess that's the case for a lot of people these days, huh?
Oh, certainly. I apologies for my, if I have a bit of a sore throat, because the vaccine, while it was wonderful at preventing COVID actually gave me seasonal allergies this year. So I'm sort of dealing with that right now. So my sincerest.
Well, apologies are accepted, and I'm sure you don't know anything about okra.
Well, actually, but before we move on, I did want to point out that I don't think that Phil was being entirely honest with you, because what he bought into is a far, far more dangerous strain of okra than you can actually buy.
You're
at the
talking about a
store.
variant, huh?
Yes, an okra variant. You do not want that in your chicken and sausage gumbo.
And that's why nobody can make the same kind of money he made. They can't do it because there's no more of this variant left.
Precisely.
Honey, I was just about to help you reprogram that chip of yours, and listen to this. You are outing me right here on the air.
Well, I've told you before that my crack investigators almost never disagree on matters of importance. But anyway, the third investigator who came with me tonight to be on TV because he loves it, that would be Hal E. Burton. He's a legendary figure as far as that goes. He is currently the operator of the Tri-Cities Steering Group for steering instruction in the Tri-Cities area of the Dakotas. And if that's not enough, he is the developer of the Poultry Specimen Quick Identification Protocol that is in use by all American intelligence agencies. And don't forget this, he's an advisor to numerous deceased political figures, both here and elsewhere in the Western world. I have also enjoyed reading his current bestseller, What I Learned from My Auto's Immune System and Why It Matters to Comedy Show Hosts and Advertisers. But let me ask you a question here, Hal. I'm sure I'm not the only one wondering about this. This Poultry Specimen Quick Identification Protocol, is it something that all of us amateurs can learn to use, or is it very sensitive?
It's fairly complicated, and it involves not only my expertise with dead celebrities, with dead politicians. I have expertise with dead celebrities. So as part of developing this system, we made an amazing accidental discovery that follicles from the late great Shecky Greene make an excellent immune system booster. So we're looking forward to patent that.
And I guess he was chicken to.
Yeah, he was known as a bit of a chicken.
Yeah, he wouldn't say this in public, huh?
No, and he had a deathly fear of crossing roads as well. So.
Okay.
But I do want to say, boss, if I could, I don't think you're getting the whole story from either Lynn or Phil. In my new book, Drilling for Okra, what's happened is the feds have developed a high quality okra weapon, but Putin has developed a vaccine against the weapon.
There's a lot of twists in this plot, huh? I don't know which of you to believe. I mean, I know you're all well paid, but not by me, and of course you have my deepest respect. But I guess we'll get more on that later. That's what they usually say at a time like this. What I would like to do is start with a discussion of the graduation season, because we are in the graduation season right now. We have been doing some review on the internet because a lot of valedictorian type speeches are being quoted on websites. One that I was really enthralled by, a gentleman named Nigel Huvabosky. He's at St. Mola's College Prep. He had this saying, "We cannot afford to be poor or listen to a lot of reggae music. My shoes are overheating and my car is almost out of gas, but I still have a picture of you I can sell for food." I don't know about you, but the wording of this valedictorian speech leaves me wondering just what kind of a person is this? Phil, I understand that you actually interviewed him last year, and you get any idea of what kind of a guy he is?
Well, yes. As a scrotal body artist, given inflation, I would. What would I make of him? A bullfrog.
Oh, I can see I see the resemblance, especially the hat, which looks pretty official. Another valedictorian whose words caught my attention, Ann Chovy. She's at the Sweaty Hands High School for the Performing Arts. I graduated years ago from that high school. I don't know why they deleted her photo, but it was deleted by Women Who Howl at the Moon. And here's what she says: "We don't wear no togas in Muskogee, if you must know. And I can track down every one of you with stuff I bought on eBay today." Let me ask you, Lynn, you spent some time researching her background over the last 6 months?
Yes, and you know, she talks a big game, but in reality, she's a little fishy, so I don't think she needs any of our time.
Yeah,
really.
most high school graduates are not 32 years old either. That's the first thing that rang an alarm bell for me. But speaking of these graduates, a lot of them haven't seen any of their classmates for the entire senior year, okay? Just completed. And so what they are planning to do is to get together for this weekend of fun at the Fountain of Youth booth, and it's near Whale Beach. I understand there will be a lot of, popular music acts and whatever. You're going undercover, aren't you?
Yes. Pardon me, boss. I am attending undercover. In fact, I've bought my tickets with Zitcoin. So, had Zitcoin been around when I was a teenager, I would have amassed an immense amount of wealth before the age of 18, but sadly it was not.
Well, I just started investing in Zitcoin, and I was asked to sign a paper saying I was over 18, because most people over 18 don't have the opportunity to purchase Zitcoin. Anyway, all of these graduates, did you want to say something else there, Hal?
No, I was just saying it's a bit of it just sort of popped up from nowhere. Zitcoin did.
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did, and it's hard to get rid of once you have some. The graduates of today, and I'm talking about not only high school but also college graduates, they have aspirations that were different than, say, when I graduated from NYU many years ago. We have a study that was done by the Linus Bob Seafood Behavior Study Group. That's at the University of Pioneer Jokes. They talk about what some of these graduates want to be or to do. I'm a little surprised by some of their choices. Flip-flops, for example, in my view, are not usually repaired. They're discarded. But a lot of people, that's important. This thing about Facebook posters, I'm pretty sure they mean Facebook. But I don't think they're talking about a profession where you make posts to Facebook. I think they are talking about wanting to be the poster that is on Facebook. Do you all agree that these are the with it choices of today's youth?
There's some strange ones out there. For instance, my niece wants to become a lab assistant in the smoked ham cloning industry, which I was shocked by. I mean, back in my day, cloning smoked hams was for people that weren't very highly paid.
I guess they get paid in kind as well as a salary?
Yes, and they may also get some Zitcoin as well. I'm not sure.
Phil, did you have a remark?
Yes, actually, I suspect the missing 19% of your correspondents are simply people who enjoy filling out surveys.
Well,
That's entirely possible.
it's entirely possible.
That's certainly one of my favorite hobbies.
I think
I love to fill out surveys.
I think they probably just didn't want to say some things on paper, you know.
You know what was unfortunate, looking at that list, I remembered how limited I was in my own field of studies. I was actually the valedictorian of my class, and so the only job that was available for me right out of college was Industrial Revolution reenactments.
Well, I thought some of your contemporaries at least became rhythm guitar players, but
Did you go with the authentic whalebone corset, or did you use the more modern synthetic corset?
Authentic whalebone. That was the only way I could get the job, and unfortunately, the bustles. I am so sorry. I keep forgetting we're not on Zoom anymore. I am.
Does this each time.
oh, every time, time. Can't let her out of the house anymore.
Possible to do a Zoom session with her.
Let's talk about
Kids these days, I tell you.
Let's talk about the Pulitzer Prizes that were recently announced, because there were a few surprises, and some of the people we expected to win did not win. But first of all, there was an award for the best use of pronouns, and that award went to Hackburton Zek for his book. I think it's a he, she,
You
it.
should get it right. For example, they, them, and themses.
Well, he only mentions in his or her book he, she, it, or them, because he can't or she can't remember whose side they are on it.
What about thee and thou?
Well, I don't think they could be here tonight. There's some problem with Uber. It's raining outside.
People are self-identifying, and use guys is actually a very popular pronoun with certain sections of the United States.
It's regional, what you're saying there, Hal. It's regional. The next award that caught my eye was the award for turgid prose. This went to a book called Mung, The Little Bean That Had No Opinion on Whether It Could or Couldn't, and Still Doesn't. Phil, we've talked about this over dinner, but I didn't understand what you were saying about Mung.
Well, my mentor Ming was among the many Hmong I meant to mention.
Oh, the same one who, famous for some railroad analogies, and I think there was an award for railroad analogies as well.
Well, that is, he traveled using the railroad, but really he was famous because he had a mustache of marmalade, which was very popular in petting zoos around the United States. And on Sesame
Popular
Street.
with the petted animals, or
the petted animals, the Muppets, the Sesame Street crowd, that demographic.
I see.
Was he also able to convert steam into Muppets? Is that using the railroad engine, the steam-powered engine? That I believe that can be used.
I'm not sure of the Muppet to steam conversion. I figured that may be under your expertise, but
I'll definitely look into that, boss.
Sounds like an engineering issue. However, I guess what we were all looking at carefully was that tight race for the best fiction, and it really came down to two people at the end. One of them was our own Texas governor, Greg Abbott, although his book is attributed to Anonymous. But you know who they're talking about, because the book is called One Governor's Heroic Response to Massive Voting Fraud in Texas. So that was pretty high on the fictional list, but it was beat out by another compelling narrative, The Stolen Election and the January Love Fest, by our past president. He calls it a memoir. I don't know if he's familiar with the actual definition of a memoir.
I believe dictionaries were outlawed in the previous administration, in the White House at least. But.
Yeah. You just had Jive talking, as I remember. What's interesting to me, though, The picture on the book, I think we've seen that before. We've seen these little yellow airborne creatures visiting our area. You know, my staff, these panelists who are gathered here, they were actually rooting for some other volumes that didn't win. For example, there's a book called God Told Me to Run Like Hell, and that one was from Commander Benny Netanyahu, who I think is a close personal friend of the past president. And there's another one, this one is by Beverly Sharktube, called The Trash Talk from the Dustbins of History.
Is that, I may interrupt, boss, but is that the same dustbin where they found Hunter Biden's laptop? Do any of your investors, I believe Lynn may have some information on that.
Yes, yeah, and you are very correct. I have been following that trail for a while.
Well, it was buried alongside. It was sort of, I thought it was clutched in the sort of decrepit hands of Jimmy Hoffa in the end zone.
Yeah, but New Jersey politics are a lot different than interplanetary or historical politics, you know, so one can never be sure.
I'm sorry, I'm showing my age.
No, I think, personally, I believe Jimmy the Hofstadter, he's still alive. I watch him on TV almost every night.
Hey, doesn't he? He has a Pray For Me show, I believe, on local cable access on Sunday mornings.
He did have such a show, and then he started using one of Mr. Pillowman's things to sleep on, and I think it's...
He was commercial violations. He was...
Yeah, commercial violations. Anyway, another book that was a personal favorite of this group was Critical Race and Other Conspiracy Theories, the Indianapolis 500 versus the Race Against Time.
I believe, if I might, boss, yeah, I'm a strong proponent of the Indianapolis 500 being identified as a critical race. I think that's for the future of our company. I don't know what Lynn
Well,
would say to that.
the problem I have with that is that just talking about the Indy 500, it ignores other critical races such as the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont Stakes, and those are truly a sight to be seen.
So you're a strong proponent of diversity and identifying races? I can tell.
Yes, definitely.
I would think that the sight-impaired spectators really don't see the races. Mind you.
Are you horsing around with the facts again?
Well, you know, I'd like to diverge for a second. Are you familiar with Leopold Cartwright Howite? Any of you?
I can't say that I am.
No, but if you hum the first few bars, I'll fake it.
Well, in the 19th century, he made his money as a competitive knob cobbler who once had his entire collection of melanated horse knobs displayed by the Queen of England. Theodore Roosevelt was the president to import them back to this country, but then recently Governor Abbott intervened in a bid to eliminate them from the curriculum of Texas schools because he didn't want to embarrass the Howite descendants.
Well, that certainly sheds a new light on it, doesn't it?
Yep.
Can we shed some new... oh, I'm sorry. The producer's not up there anymore, is he?
No, he fell.
He used to cling to those rafters.
Yeah,
anyway.
well, ever since the tragic accident that snapped his Achilles tendon, I believe, he's under doctor's orders to stay in his booth over there. So.
Okay, all right,
Oh, that was sort of a Sisyphean. I thought you had said syphilis, but that's Sisyphus.
Yes,
okay.
That's correct, yes.
That's a different reason for missing work.
Very different.
Yeah, but I don't think you have to have a letter from the doctor when you anyway.
When you have Sisyphus? Anyway.
You just have to be able to speak
you're not
classical Greek.
Practicing safe classical reading if you're having these issues. So I would strongly urge you to. Safety should be your job one.
Vaccination, that's where it all comes together.
What I would like to talk about now, though, is how these Pulitzer Prizes have influenced the trends in the music industry, because I've seen some music industry awards that are really, I mean, these are distinctive. This year we had the award for Best Album by a Domestic Terrorist. And I think we've got a slide of it there. That guy looks familiar to me. Maybe he just looks like Mr. Bosky, I don't know. But
It's like a police sketch I saw yesterday, in fact. So
yeah, I think there may be more than one of these people. I mean, we were talking about hams who were cloned, and this anyway. This is now available on Spotify and Infotang. I don't know if y'all. I mean, I spend hours on Infotang these days.
Is that a 500 number?
It's free.
That is a big bill that I should be getting back.
Yeah. Anyway, Far Right White Man's Pity Party is definitely one of my favorite albums this year. Actually, I bought it on CD. And then there's this one, the best single by a, what is this? Where is our...
We got a call from the second floor. So.
Oh. Well, I guess that's all I'm going to say about the best single by a white punk. Let's just go on. Then there's also an award for the best elevator music video. And what I was, I got a copy of the slide here with me. Lollapalooza is the one who won this year's music video, elevator music video award for Funk in My Trunk. But Pink Floyd is making a comeback. I don't want to get off the track. They're performing their entire global sensation, My Magic Meatball. And I don't know, this Monica Santa, who's also appearing at the Whale Beach Rocktoberfest, I think she usually appears without clothing, so it's a big deal that she is actually going to be dressed for this show. But in this connection here, Best Elevator Music Video, I have been told that they will be adding an award for the Best Gas Pump Music Video. Now, every time I have to fill up the tank these days, I see that screen well, mostly I see ads, you know, I should buy this, or the score in last night's game was 13-8, and they interchangeable teams, I mean, but there's also some music videos at the gas pump.
I find it a fantastic place to sort of show off your latest. I don't know what you do, just stand around. That's a lot of that's at least 3.5 minutes that you could be practicing some choreography.
My gas pump, when I just get, it just has 3.5 minutes of laughing with smiley faces at me.
Is that because it's laughing at your vehicle? I guess.
Yes,
Yeah. Well, for those who haven't seen Hal's vehicle, you would understand if.
Vehicle is calling it a vehicle is quite a bit of a stretch.
And it's a prototype of something we're going to get to in a little bit.
That is true.
He goes to those no pants refill stations, so.
Well, and those are open 24 hours. That's why you go to them, right? Because you often need gas in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Or you have gas.
But plus it's easier to evade the law and order forces if you go at night, I've found. So, you know, when you have all those restraining orders out, it can be a little bit difficult to avoid them.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. You're coming from a place near here.
Hey, as I said, safety first.
Okay. Final thing I want to mention here, the award that this year went to the Roasted Hairballs for their tune Stairwell to Helsinki. This was the best anthem for angry youth.
Boss, I don't want to interrupt here, and I don't want to sound like I'm old and out of touch, but am I the only one that feels like music really changed between, say, Generation X and the younger generations? Because, you know, back in my day, we had the greats, we had Madonna Pap Smear, we had the Alexander Haig Massacre. You know, we were making music with Casios and keytars, and the kids now, zithers.
Yeah, and
now
zithers.
the kids are making music with keytars and Casios and zithers, and so I don't.
And they're all
understand any part of
auto-tuned.
it. They're all auto-tuned.
Well, back, I don't know, in Boss and I generation, we had only one note, and we were happy to have that. So I think.
Yeah, and then the law changed, and we had two that we could use. But that's why Hungarian folk songs, I think, were so popular when we were learning to play the guitar, was because they actually used how many notes was it? You know, this is before Zitcoin, so I forget.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's enough for music. What we're also talking about these days is civilians going into space. And that's because guys who are so rich, like, well, I don't want to call somebody the Bezos brothers, but that's who they are. They were going to take a little suborbital flight, move up there they're going to go past the ionosphere, just briefly, of course. But since the two of them were going up and there were 3 seats, there was a sweepstakes so that somebody else got to join the Bezos brothers going into space. And who did it turn out to be? A one-celled animal. I am surprised because, for one thing, this is supposed to be a very wealthy amoeba. I'm not sure how amoebas become very wealthy.
I believe in this particular
Is it
case.
he or she?
Well, it's a trust fund amoeba in this case, but it's, I believe the species, if that's where we're going, it's not a paramecium. I believe it's either a my karyot, a your karyot, or a them karyot, but I'm not quite sure which. But it may be of the
Phil, I know you're an expert in certain lingual...
Yes, I am very prokaryote.
Okay, all right.
And it may be a form from the family of Gatesaurus, is quite possibly that I get my families and genuses and species all confused.
Is that the family that made big money in brain infections?
I believe so.
Is it a genus or a family? Oh wait, this is a family show. Yeah.
So it could be a genius. I mean, I think its parents were more geniuses. And
Well,
that's why it got the inherited
that is
wealth.
one lucky one-celled animal, I'll tell you that. But my question is, why are they going upstairs in the first place? Is it just because they want to go on a fun ride, or do they have some other agenda? I don't want to call all of the Bezos agendas hidden, but let's just we've got a slide here, I think, that we dug up from the Sulphur Springs Note Taker. By the way, you remember when in the old days, newspaper note taker, I think that used to be called a journalist. Anyway, they're going up there to visit a Starbucks attraction. And it looks very familiar to me. I think we have seen an interplanetary vehicle that looked a lot like this. It was like the bus model of one of those Zeta Reticuli group of people who came over. Well, anyway.
So I think they're just going up. They're just going to go zither and yawn wherever the gravity orbit takes them. So I don't know that they really have a firm destination.
Well, okay. All right. Most people, of course, will not have the opportunity to go into space, but as I was hinting a few minutes ago, a lot of people are going to be airborne, and there is now a possibility to make lots of money if you are one of the first entrepreneurs that has a fleet of flying taxis. Now, these flying taxis, for one thing, I believe that they fly on some inexpensive fuel source.
Yeah, I can speak to that, boss. Couple things. Right now, you don't need a license to actually fly them. They're actually covered under, I believe it's FAR Part 103, which regulates paramotor piloting. But yes, you were talking about my vehicle earlier. It was an experimental form, and it didn't quite work out. Thus, I have to go to the gas station. But these are actually powered by okra.
Oh, well, wait a minute now. I was given this as an exhibit. I was given this. I can't say who gave this to me, but they said it was an okra fuel rod. Is that possible?
Yes,
Is this what you put in your?
That is exactly what an okra. I
okra
believe
fuel?
it was designed by Okra Windfree as an alternative to wind energy. Is I believe where the genesis of that term came from.
Well, I don't understand why it's orange, but it is attractive in its own right.
Well, actually, that looks a lot like my New Year's Eve costume last year.
I didn't. Well,
I'm somewhat grateful I did not go to that party, Mr. Phil.
I was just going to.
If that was an example of a New Year's Eve costume,
It was fantastic.
Well, I didn't realize he was ever that thin, but what do I know? Look, most Americans, they're not going to be going into outer space, and they're probably not going to get airborne. But I'll tell you one thing, Americans, having been cooped up for a long time, they just want to get out of the house. Now, one popular group that just got out of the house is a passel of Texas Democrats. You might remember that Texas Republicans were trying to, how shall I say this, steamroll through a package of voter suppression tools, and all they needed was a quorum so they could vote on them, and suddenly House Democrats weren't there anymore. And we dug up a story here recently in the Lubbock Looney Bin, Looney Bin, I'm sorry. And it turns out that a bunch of Texas Democrats are renting some unfinished townhouses and a bunch of vacant properties where businesses have gone out of business because they're hiding out. I know that they went to Washington. They were so popular showing spines, like, for example, the National Democratic Party has not been able to generate that kind of a spine. So they went to Washington to say that if S1, the For the People Act, is not passed, then the Republicans in 14 states so far are going to have the Fear the People Act passed in many forms. But I don't want to get political here.
Well, but it's interesting when you use the term quorum boss, because I believe now it's coming back to me, the one-celled organism that had no spine was actually from the quorum family of bacteria. So I found that to be a fascinating
those are the ones that can drive vehicles.
If only if they have to have two combined, and but the problem is they tend to, as they get together to combine to drive the car, they tend to form and then split into many different parts, and it becomes very messy.
Those sound a lot like tardigrades, also known as tardy bears, but usually they don't wind up on the space missions because they're usually at home still shaving and they miss the flight.
Yeah, those things, you know, if it's...
I hate it when that happens.
8:30 is when it leaves. I mean, you're not there. Sorry.
Yeah. Bezos waits for no man.
And people are now wanting to go on ocean cruises, but they're a little hesitant because of, you know, these things haven't really been in the water sailing for a long time. People are wary, so cruise lines are having to offer incentives. A friend of mine is getting his tax accounting degree as a perk for going on a cruise.
I've heard of some other ones. For instance, I believe it's the Princess line is offering I believe it's 2 years worth of free ham cloning if you go on their cruise and take the vaccines. I don't know if Lynn has heard of any.
I've definitely we can talk about this in a moment, but I've heard of some interesting destinations where the
all right, let's hold that thought for a minute then.
I was just going to offer, you know, post-COVID free shots of Purell.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't need a refill, right? They fill you up completely.
Well, you know, one little cup at a time. They usually light it for you. They film a safety video, and then you get to
Okay.
So, but you do drink the flaming shot.
I mean,
that is the whole
anything
thrill,
flaming.
The whole thrill of having.
there's a
burning
whole line
hand
of flaming.
gel.
Do they
There's
have
a
mixers
conga line
at
of.
least? Because that seems,
No,
seems
that's
a little extreme, even
No,
for
they
a
may,
pro like me.
but real. I mean,
Like-
real advocates of this thing drink
A whole
straight.
flaming conga line.
Right.
Wow.
And speaking of drinking things, a lot of people who've been drinking things on airplanes lately have been misbehaving, to say the least, and I would call them rowdy airline passengers. We have a story in the St. Paul Apologist-in-Chief that I was reading the other day, famously quoting one of these guys who was being subdued by other passengers and screaming, "What the hell did you put in my Virgin Mary?" I think that's a quote.
Possibly Purell. From the
Yeah,
sound of it. It
that's
seems
what
like
I've heard.
that's-
It was Purell. I believe it was the off-brand Purell that was imported from Mexico. That has the ethanol in it, or the methanol in it.
Now,
It's close to the ethanol.
you were telling me there is some sort of there's some kind of music being played.
Yes.
That,
Instead of the in-flight movies, I was surprised to find that they were actually piping in Norwegian speed metal through the cabin instead. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I was fired up even by the end of that, and it was only an hour and a half flight. So I imagine that might have something to do with it.
Could be. I've heard additionally they have, as part of the 737 MAX software upgrade to get them back in flight. They just don't test software these days like they used to. And what it's inadvertently, there's a bug in the software, and it's injecting testosterone into the recirculating air in the cabin, and that's, people are just going crazy. So.
What a combination.
And plus they're, the amount of people joining the Mile High Club with all that testosterone floating in the air is,
I
as you
gotta
can
say,
imagine, is just setting records.
I'm surprised that people even get where they think they're going. And I know most people are wanting to go to pretty ordinary places like Bill's Bar and Joe's Mansion, places like that. But since everybody wants to go somewhere, there are some internet travel scams going on right now. I think you should pay attention if you don't know about this. There are portable islands. Excuse me, I almost forgot to say, the most popular destination, hands down, this year and last, is, excuse me? Am I missing something here?
We're
trying to-
concerned there may be Purell in these cups here. So
I see.
Well, we'll keep an eye on Phil.
Hit me again.
Just took one for the team.
All right. Anyway, the most popular destination, though, has been for some time Geese Heaven. Beautiful Geese Heaven. Geese Heaven? I know. That's making me think of G7. G7.
You're so brilliant, boss. Nobody else could make that connection.
I thought they broke up years ago. I was friends with the guitarist.
Well,
lead guitarist.
they did break up, and then
They reformed, I believe, as
well, they
possibly
glued
as
it back
it was
together.
G8 that, and then their lead guitarist Putin was kicked out of the band. And they became
Okay.
G7.
Yeah, I saw G7 at X-Fest in 95.
Speaking
They
of
looked great.
Putin and Biden, who are also known to have gone to G7 or after G7, they decided not to actually go to war with each other anymore. They were just going to do games, and role playing. So Putin suggested that they do poker, and Biden suggested that they do find the body. And I don't think they've agreed yet.
Didn't Merkel chime in with the floor is lava? Was that one? Was that her suggestion, or was that the Canadian Prime Minister? I'm not sure.
I think that it was just a bunch of people checking their watches. We don't know who. The video is kind of cloudy. But speaking of cloudy and speaking of scams, if you have about $19 million, that you're not doing anything with, you can purchase today a portable island. Yeah, you've got a picture of it right there. And these portable items can be moved just about anywhere. They can be installed just about anywhere, and then you can go online and offer your travel package to these beautiful islands. In fact, I passed two of them on the way to the studio tonight.
Yeah, they're actually, boss. What I've been told by my sources is the one-celled organism that got the speed. That was the source of the family's money. Was these portable islands from years ago. But what's happening? You actually get a discount now if you agree to tow your island and put it on top of a Superfund site, like a cap, to keep the noxious stuff from coming up. You'll actually get a government tax credit for that.
Kill two birds with one stone that way, huh? Okay.
Well, I am an advocate for a good travel package on an island.
Yeah, me too. And while I'm at it, I just want to say...
I thought we were going to keep the whole package discussion out of this, but...
You know what? We keep bringing it up.
Yep. I can't ride herd over everything that gets said, and I don't want to be more specific. Anyway, a lot of people are not reading the fine print these days, so I just want to warn you, I know some people that I went to school with at NYU. They took one of these packages that was going to send them to Whale Beach, you know, the same place where the festival is and where the graduates are going, only it was a one-way package. They didn't pay attention, so now they're out there sitting on the beach waiting for the next, flying taxi to come by, I suppose.
Well, the previous administration, particularly the former president, had been working with the cruise lines during COVID to determine some interesting one-way destinations like Guantanamo Bay and Rikers Island and Chernobyl. So people really do need to read the fine print when they're signing up for that.
Okay,
that
that's what we're going to do. And we'll read it for you. We'll tell you whatever we find out. While this is all going on, our former president is beginning a world tour of sorts. If you've seen the print, yeah, there it is. The article in the Waco Whopper was the first time I saw this. He is joining up with Bill O'Reilly. They plan to do some rapping, some goofball scenarios they want to talk about. And they may share some of their family recipes. But what this is leading up to is the possibility of Trump returning to power, being reinstated in August, last I heard. And the way this is going to happen is that he's going to have a new vice president with him. The people in the running that I know of, Mr. Netanyahu, who is currently unemployed, Mr. Bolsonaro, whoever that guy is in Brazil, that Bolsonaro person.
He's a real clever rascal, isn't he?
He is clever. I mean, anyway, one of those guys or all three of them are probably going to give you a package deal for a retrofit of America's value system or something. But Trump is having a problem going to more than 4 cities, and that's because most of these big cities want him to put down property damage insurance before anything gets going. You see, those Trump supporters are known to be kind of a rowdy bunch. Wherever they go, there tends to be property damage. And let me just say something about this while I'm thinking about it. Right now, we have congressional committees looking into, and law enforcement agencies looking into what happened on January 6th. But we can't get a real commission to look at it. So what I think is going to happen, and I'm not going to reveal which one of you told me because I know it would compromise your sources. They're planning for all of these people who were in the insurrection. Since it was their first insurrection, they will probably just be asked to do community service.
You get your first insurrection free.
Yeah. So I think they're offering them the opportunity to be poll watchers.
Well, most of them, I believe, boss, another defense is that most of them flew on 737 Maxes with the testosterone issue problems. So
Yes, yes.
They're going to fall back on the testosterone made them do it.
Okay. And this also reminds me, a lot of us are not big fans of the former president, and it's sort of a badge of honor to be on his enemies list. I mean, you want to be known as having been in opposition. And some people are feeling bad that they weren't named. So you can rectify that now. You can go to the website we found the other day. You can upload all of your data, and I thought it was to the Department of Justice, but Phil tells me that you're really actually sending all this data to the Trump organization. When you upload the data, however, you will then be officially known as an enemy and make it to the enemies list. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you get a certificate and a little decoder ring, yeah.
Okay.
See, I never got a certificate or a decoder ring. I just had a Ring camera pop up in my bathroom, and I guess that's probably where that came from.
I think that's it, because I know that I was spied on because they did a roof job. I'm talking about some Trump people. They dressed in both blue and red uniforms to confuse the issue, but they wired up my house, so I know they spied on me, and they said it was because they were trying to track down a leak, a White House leak, and we have a picture, a file photo about that White House leak, which was originally reported by Melania Trump. And we think it either comes from the dishwasher or the...
Well, they sent plumbers to my house, although I assume that was because I was filming a video in my living room.
Oh, I think I've seen that video. Is it on HBO?
This is on the Poll Watchers channel. I don't know if that's really your vibe.
Oh, okay. No,
What I've been told, boss, is what's really happened is, in order to stop the leak, they brought the old White House plumbers out of retirement, G. Gordon Liddy and all of those.
Well, and he's dead, so that was no easy feat.
But with my expertise in dealing with dead politicians, I was able to work. That's just a minor inconvenience to a man like me. So.
Well, let me get a couple
my
of
theory behind the leak is that Biden, I imagine, installed those eco-friendly low flow toilets, and as you know, people of certain diets have to flush them up to 10, 20 times a shot.
That could be it.
And is the White House leak? Do we know, is that why Melania had to move the rose garden, because the sewage leak was ruining the roses?
I think
I've
so,
heard
but
that.
let me hurry this past. We've got just a couple of other items I'd like to get to. For one thing, the heat wave that's going on, it's everywhere. And you probably know that in Texas, we tried to get out in front of this. We're going to make it illegal to tell how hot is it jokes. You either get fined or you get jail time. But, ERCOT, in addition to recommending that people move in with their relatives in the Arctic for the rest of the summer, we hear that they also remotely upped the temperature on people's thermostats. Now, that didn't happen to me.
Oh, it happened to me, and they stopped really quickly because I was able to engineer kind of a reverse hack on them and found out that the entire ERCOT board had their thermostat set to 68 degrees.
Well, what I found is that my garage door kept opening and closing when I wasn't even home.
I didn't have either of those happen, but what's happened to me is my Roomba vacuum cleaner has been chasing me all over the house. It's become vicious. It's even learned to climb stairs and come after me. So.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Trump makes a comeback, of course, he's going to make climate change illegal, and that will be the end of that. But a lot of people think that's not enough. I would like to talk about baseball for just a minute, because you remember the days of the spitball when pitchers did things to get an advantage. They wanted to throw something a hitter couldn't hit. And these days they are using a new sticky substance. We got a couple of pictures of what's inside a pitcher's hat. This first one here shows you a roasted hairball. which was thrown instead of a baseball. And this second one shows you a kitchen sink full of items that can be attached to the baseball to make it rotate in a really weird way. But this one I can't believe. In the glove we found how they throw a screwball. It's a mechanical marvel. It almost looks like you could use it to fuel a flying taxi. And with that, I just want to say, Prime Day came and I was looking to buy a flying taxi to start my fleet. They were way too expensive for me. The only thing that I could really afford, I saw Jim Crow bars all over the place, many sites, but I don't need a Jim Crow bar. Did y'all buy anything?
I bought a pre-sale to Jeff Bezos' concert on the moon when it happens, because I heard he's getting the Spin Doctors back together. I'm pretty excited.
Well, how about that?
I bought a small in-home kind of aquarium-sized okra farm so that I can grow my own okra, because what I found tying it into the baseball thing is if you distill okra,
Yeah.
if you do a batch distillation and steam distill it, you'll actually be left with a residue at the bottom of the distillation vessel, and it's very sticky, and it's very effective at using it for baseballs.
Well,
I could go on and on about the
but we
distillation
can't
process.
because, as usual, we're out of time. But I would say,
Yes.
Phil, that what you probably did was you bought into the idea.
Actually, I specifically bought free-range, cruelty-free, organic banana wrap.
Oh, that was a wise purchase.
I hope that all of you did as well as we did, and I hope things improve for you here in 2021, because it's really getting noisy out there. So until we see you again in person on TV, we'd like all of you to, you don't have to worship us, but we really hope you like us. And
Worshipping is fun.
Where should they send-
Lynn, are you happy with being worshipped?
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's settle for worship or cash contribution.
I come home from work sometimes. I come home from my job. I had a hard day at the office, dealing with a bunch of rubber snakes. One of the kids is in the driveway. He's shooting skeet with my rifle. He has your mother's eyes. I think he should give them back. Sometimes I come home